Hey, Read Through the Word. Today is March 21st, and today's lesson is called Dust to Dust, and we are in Psalm 90. This is the psalm, a psalm of Moses, and this is probably the earliest of the psalms. It was written very early in history. We can say probably the earliest because there's some of the Psalms that we don't know when they were written or who wrote them. And so, but we believe this to be the oldest. It was written during the wilderness wanderings of the children of Israel. And Moses witnessed some things that made him think, as he himself is getting ready to return to dust, of the frailty of life, and because, or how short life is, man's frailty and man's sin. So I want to throw some numbers out here to you. So if we go all the way back to Genesis, at the end of Genesis, the house of Jacob who comes to Egypt was 70. 430 years later, conservative commentators will say that Israel had grown to a population of somewhere between 1.5 to 2.5 million. I usually say 2 million, that 2 million walked out of Egypt. And that would mean that Israel's population had actually multiplied about 10 times larger than it was every 100 years in Egypt. Which, when you look at population numbers, that's a big deal because God had a plan. But if it looks that it's just part of God's provision. He knew he's building a nation, and God himself controls all things. So the book of Numbers spoke about a lot of death in Israel. So there was, if we look at the first census at the book of Numbers, would have been about 1.5 million before the 40 years of wandering, and then 1.5 million after the years in the wilderness. And it said, but Moses said, but among these there was not one of those listed by Moses and Aaron the priest who had listed the people in Israel in the wilderness of Sinai, except Caleb and Joshua. So if we look at that, that would mean that over the 40 years of wilderness wanderings, 1.5 million people died in that time. That's an average of 37,500 people per year, and an average of just over 100 people dying per day. Everywhere that Israel went in the wilderness, they left a graveyard behind. To look at these numbers, it shows us the consequences of sin, a lack of belief in the power of God, and so many things. So in response, as Moses, as the leader, as he watched people die constantly for 40 years, I'm at the point in my life where, there's different seasons of life. My son's in a season right now. His friends are getting married or have gotten married and has babies. One of his best friends, they just had their second child, and my son's not married yet. And he went to a wedding shower this past week, and he was like, "Okay, what do I do for a wedding shower, Mom?" And so we were looking. So there for a while, I remember going to wedding showers all the time and baby showers all the time. Now when I go to baby showers, it's a friend of mine's grandkids, and but I'm in a season of life where it's, I attend a lot of funerals between friends of mine's parents. I mean, my own father-in-law. I remember in that season, and I thought about that just since COVID of the senior adults in my church that I have been friends with for the 20 years that I've been there, or I've had more of them with Jesus now. And that would be if I was going to a couple of funerals a month. This is 100 a day for 40 years. And Moses' reply to that is Psalm 90. So we're going to read Psalm 90. It says this: Lord, through all the generations, you have been our home. Before the mountains were born, before you gave birth to the earth and the world, from the beginning to the end, you are God. You turn people back to dust, saying, "Return to dust, you mortals." For you, 1,000 years are as a passing day, as brief as a few night hours. You sweep people away like dreams that disappear. They're like grass that springs up in the morning. In the morning it blooms and flourishes, but by evening is dry and withered. We wither beneath your anger. We are overwhelmed by your fury. You spread out our sins before you, our secret sins. You see them all. We live our lives beneath your wrath, ending our years with a groan. 70 years are given to us. Some even live to 80. But even the best years are filled with pain and trouble, and soon they disappear and we fly away. Who can comprehend the power of your anger? Your wrath is as awesome as the fear you deserve. Teach us to realize the brevity of life so that we may grow in wisdom. ESV says, teach us to number our days. O Lord, come back to us. How long will you delay? Take pity on your servants. Satisfy us each morning with your unfailing love, so we may sing with joy to the ends of our lives. Give us gladness in proportion to our former misery. Replace the evil years with good. Let us, your servants, see you work again. Let our children see your glory. And may the Lord our God show us his approval and make our efforts successful. Yes, make our efforts successful. What does it mean to number our days? And what is Moses talking about here? The first verses now, and I will let y'all know I'm always going to link a Travis Cottrell song when I can. There is a Travis Cottrell song called Be Unto Your Name. And it says, oh, love that song. It says, we are a vapor and you are eternal. That's what Moses is talking about. The 1,000 years is a day. That doesn't mean that a day is equal to 1,000 years in God. God is not bound by space or time. So that's not what that means. It means God's not bound by time. God's not bound by time. That when it says the frailty of man in light of an eternal God is put to the forefront. That's what Moses is talking about. And that God is rightly angry with sin. I am more and more discouraged with how flippant we are with sin. That we have a problem being called out on sin. We have a problem being held accountable on sin. God is very angry about sin. His wrath was poured out on Jesus Christ because of our sin. And death is a result of sin. And the Bible teaches that life can be shortened because of sin, like disciplinary. We see that multiple times in the Bible. And not just the Old Testament. We see it in the New as well. But Moses' experience in the wilderness of watching 100 people a day, that's a good estimate. I've seen something that's upwards of 1,000 a week, depending on what number you use, would have reminded him constantly of the consequences of sin, the frailty of human life, but God's goodness. God's goodness. Because life is short. Life is so short. And this should be a reminder of we have just this amount of time to walk in obedience and relationship with God. We have just this short amount of time to glorify God here and point others to Him. Because when we get to eternity, we're all glorifying God. Well, here we have a chance to be His witness. To be His witness through this short little life we've been given. This short, and it should remind us, it should not say that, oh, how mean God is. Not true at all. We don't deserve anything He has done for us. We don't deserve anything. Go read, hold on, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God by Jonathan Edwards, a preacher during the Great Awakening in the United States. We don't even deserve the air we breathe. Yet because of God's loving kindness and His goodness, He gives it to us. And that's what Moses ends up. He talks about how it's awful to watch death, how it's awful to watch people dropping dead in the desert. It's probably what I should have called the lesson. It's dropping dead in the desert. I might change it. What he comes to realize is the loving kindness of God. It is God's steadfast, unfailing, and loyal love. Even though life is short because of sin and its consequences, that even in that short life, every single day we can enjoy the goodness of God, His loving kindness, His loyalty to us, His steadfast love to us, all of this because we've been made to be in right relationship with Him because of the cross of Jesus Christ. Because of what God has done to handle that sin problem for us. It enables us to be in right relationship with Him every single day of this short life that we have been given. Teach us to number our days. They are short. Teach us to use them well, to establish the work of our hands. Lord, may You find us faithful with every single day You give us until we see Your face. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.